Okay. I am calling to order the City of Maricopa Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of Monday, September 25th, 2023. We're in the library in the Redwood Room. May I have a invocation is going to be given by Commissioner Irving and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Robertson. All rise, please, if you're able.
Please bow your head. Dear Father, thank you for another wonderful day. Thank you for all you continue to do for us and be with us. As we go about the deliberation of the work today for the city, let us be guided by your principles of understanding and love. Be with us, keep us strong. We lift all of us up to you. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Juarez? Here. Commissioner Singleton?
Here.
Vice Chair Robertson?
Here.
Chair Yocum?
Here.
Commissioner Irving?
Here.
And Commissioner Hughes?
Here.
So we have a quorum. Thank you. Call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a speaker card and submit it to the chairman prior to the start of the meeting. Does anybody want or need a speaker card that doesn't have one? Okay. The procedures to follow if you address the commission are: commission requests that you express your ideas in 3 minutes or less and refrain from any personal attacks or derogatory comments about any city employee, a fellow citizen, or anyone else, whether in the audience or not. The chairman will limit discussion whenever he deems such an action appropriate to the proper conduct of the meeting. Minutes. I'm seeking approval of the August 28th, 2023 Maricopa Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. We can open for discussion and action, or I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion made by Commissioner Robertson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Irving. If there's no discussion, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Regular agenda. Item 5.1, ZON 23-05. Now, on your agenda, it does not indicate that this is a public hearing, but it is a public hearing. It has been noticed and advertised as such, so we are going to continue as though it indeed is a public hearing, and that means that we will be having a public here. We'll open a public hearing later and close it if you're interested in talking on this topic. A request by Desert Cedars Equities, LLC, to rezone approximately 2.38 acres from the existing general mixed use, which is MU-G zoning district, to general commercial, which is CGC. The site is generally located on the southeast corner of North John Wayne Parkway and West Honeycutt Avenue, and this is for discussion and action. First thing we would like to do is ask staff for their presentation.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Derek Shearer with the Planning Division of the Development Services Department, here to present case number ZON 23-05, JWP East Rezone, request by Desert Cedars Equity, LLC. As you can see, I have a site map up on the screen. This request is to rezone this highlighted site, which is approximately 2.38 acres from the existing general mixed-use zoning category to the general commercial zoning district. On the left, you'll see the current zoning map. It designates MUG for this area. The applicant is proposing to rezone this small area to GC. Previously, if the commission will remember, in the spring, the city did a city-initiated rezone for this area surrounding the corner of North John Wayne Parkway and West Honeycutt Avenue. Since that time, the owner of this property kind of realized through their development plans that the MUG district would not meet for what they were looking to put there. The MUG is a mixed-use district. It's a residential, basically neighborhood commercial district. It does not allow a number of different uses such as drive-throughs or anything like that. With this sort of prime location on a very important intersection here, the applicant has come up with some development plans for commercial use that wouldn't fit in the MUG and put in an application to rezone it to general commercial. When analyzing this request, staff looked at current zoning in the area and then what the general plan designation for this site is. The general plan designation is for employment. The GC category is consistent with the general plan for the area. And then, as you can see on the west side of John Wayne Parkway, we have general commercial there. So it's pretty consistent with keeping this a commercial node right around this major intersection. As part of the rezone submittal, the applicant submitted a conceptualized site plan. As you can see here, it's very conceptual to develop the site into two development pads, one with a 5,000 square foot building, the other with a 3,300 square foot building, providing the parking interior to the site. When looking at the, as I said, the general plan, the proposed rezone is consistent with the general plan. All city departments have reviewed and vetted the proposal and do not have any opposition to it. And it meets all the requirements of Section 18 of the zoning ordinance. For the public outreach, the neighborhood notification letters were sent on August 23rd. Site was posted on August 24th. Public hearing notifications letters were sent out on August 30th for this meeting. Newspaper legal notices were published on September 2nd. A neighborhood meeting was held on September 8th. There was no members of the public in attendance. And here we are, September 25th at the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. Staff recommends approval of JWP East rezone, case number ZON 23-05, subject to the conditions of approval stated in the staff report and/or as amended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. If the commissioners have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. We also have the applicant here to answer any questions that staff would not be able to.
Okay. I think we'll hear from the applicant, and then we can have the commissioners ask questions of both as appropriate. Would the applicant like to make any comments? And if so, would you please state your name and your affiliation, please?
My name is Randy Hazlett. I work for Mr. Kozlow, who's the owner of the property. I'm an architect. If anybody has any questions, I can answer them. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay. Commissioners? Questions, concerns?
Are we going to do the
Comments?
hearing after this?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Because I'd like the public to hear this discussion, and then we'll open the public hearing, because we might hit upon something in these discussions that
That's
they're
what-
interested in. Yep.
that was good.
Okay. Okay, if we have no comments, let's move to the open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak one way or the other on this topic? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing. Again, I'm going to ask the commissioners if there's any comments, concerns. If not, I'm going to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion to approve was given to us, excuse me, by Commissioner Hughes. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Singleton. No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, GPA 23-02, a request by CVL Consultants on behalf of Maricopa 80 LLC to amend the general plan future land use map for approximately 80 plus or minus acres from existing low-density residential L to medium-density residential M and commercial C for the future development of a single-family residential community and commercial area generally located at the northwest corner of West Steen Road and North Murphy Road. And this is for discussion only. Staff report, please.
Good evening again, Commissioners, Chairman. Derek Shearer, again with the Planning Department. Pecan Grove's major GPA case number 23-02. This is a request by CBL Consultants and Maricopa 80 LLC to change the general plan designation on approximately 80 acres of land. As you can see on the site map there, this is at the northwest corner of West Steen Road and North Murphy Road. The request is to change the designation from low-density residential to medium-density residential and commercial. As we can see here with these exhibits, on the left is a current general plan future land use map, and on the right is a proposed general plan future land use map. This 80 acres is designated currently for low-density residential. The applicant is proposing to change this to a medium-density residential with a commercial component based on a conceptual plan and a planned area development application that they have currently in review by the Planning Department with major general plan amendments. In this case, because we are changing more than 80 acres for a low-density residential to a higher density residential and or commercial, more intense use, we have to go through a state statute process for amending an area this large from a lower density to uses that are a higher density. This first meeting is an off-site meeting. This is why we're here in our nice library rather than in the council chambers. All by state statute, there has to be 2 public hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission. First one is at the off-site here. The second will be back in the council chambers in approximately a month. That's why this is for discussion only now, to introduce it, flesh out any comments or thoughts that the commission or the public may have. That'll be addressed by the applicant. And then when it's presented in a month to the Planning Commission for action, the commission will take action on that, and then it'll be forwarded to the City Council for ultimate decision. So as I had said, on the left side, low-density residential. On the right side, medium-density residential, commercial. Although these don't show it to the north, on the right-hand side, that's a development called Maricopa 40. Basically the same kind of development where it was 40 acres to go to a medium-density residential for a single-family housing product with commercial. This is pretty much an extension of that and a continuation to wrap around this corner or future development of the corner for West Steen and North Murphy. As we can see here, here's the conceptual land use plan that the applicant has, which is in a planned area development application, rezone application. That'll be heard at the next commission meeting where action on this GPA will take place. And action will have to be general plan amendment first, and then the planned area development rezone. The rezone can't happen without the master plan being amended to allow for it. So we can see a single-family development with a commercial pad connecting to the single-family development, and the single-family development will also connect to the west to a development that hasn't occurred yet. It's called Cortona. It's been on the books for quite some time. The ownership is close to the same, and different entities, but basically the same controlling structure. And they have agreed to sort of let the two intertwine, which is a little different than a lot of these subdivisions who sort of stand on their own and aren't connected to subdivisions next door to them. So staff has analyzed this proposal, and we looked at the medium density residential and the commercial designations, and giving the context of this location in the area. Staff is looking at this at the development goals of the area with this context. It is an appropriate major general plan amendment. It's been fully vetted by all internal departments and is at the request of the property owner. On June 28th, first notification letters went out to property owners within 600 feet of the site. On July 13th, the applicant held a neighborhood meeting. There wasn't any interaction with the meeting. There wasn't any members of the public at the meeting. On September 8th, second notification letters were sent out. And on September 9th, this was published in the newspaper as an advertisement for this public hearing. On September 11th, the site was posted advertising this date, the second P&Z date, and also the commission date. And then September 25th today is the first Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, public hearing for this as required by state statute. And now I'll open this up to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the public for discussion or any questions that they may have for myself or for the applicant for GPA 23-02.
Okay. Before we get to that point, does the applicant have a representative here who would like to speak? Would you please give us your name and your affiliation, please?
Hello. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for hearing our case this evening. My name is Julie Vermillion with the applicant, CVL Consultants, located at 4550 North 12th Street in Phoenix. I'd like to thank Derek for the thorough presentation, and I'd just like to highlight a few key points. As Derek noted earlier, our project as proposed is at home in this location in Maricopa. We're tied to Cortona to the west. We have Maricopa 40 to the north. There's Murphy and Farrell that was recently approved to the east. Proposed PAD for Murphy Park to the south, along with Hartman Ranch and Hartman Trails. We're surrounded by medium density master plan communities just like ours. So we believe that this would be a great fit. It's evident that there is demand for increased housing in this area of East Maricopa to support new and proposed employment uses here in the vicinity and in nearby cities like Casa Grande. So we would be happy to help satisfy this demand with the housing diversity shown on the land use plan and our commercial corner. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners? Vice Chair Robertson?
Thank you for the presentation, Derek. Couple questions. What's the size of the commercial portion that's outbroke? How many acres is that?
Oh, I think it's approximately 5. The
Five.
exact acreage should be on the land plan.
Okay. So probably more than just a convenience store at that location eventually.
Yes, it's a neighborhood commercial location planned for uses that will support our community and the communities around us.
And what's the difference in unit density between the medium and low density change that we're asking for? How many units per acre?
Thank you. So we're currently proposing the density of 4.3 dwelling units per acre, and I believe low density residential caps out at 2.
Good, thank you.
Commissioners, anything further? Okay. Does Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, this is just for staff. I travel Murphy Road quite a bit and go that way to Casa Grande. What is the road structure of Murphy Road? Is it going to be able to handle, there's some traffic and heavy equipment that is going to be needed to do this development?
Well, Murphy Road will be improved according to the traffic impact analysis, so it'll be built out to a medium arterial half-street improvements with our site.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, before we move along, we're not going to have a formal public hearing, but is there anybody who would like to make a comment on this particular item? If not, and there's no further discussion, I'm looking for a motion.
There's no motion.
No
there's
motion.
action.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I guess we'll move on to the next agenda item.
All right, thank you very much.
We are now 5.3 GPA 23-04, and this is going to be for discussion only, to remind myself. A request by CVI Consultants on behalf of Maricopa 480 Partners to amend the general plan future land use map for approximately 481 plus or minus acres from existing low-density residential, which is L, medium-density residential M, master plan community MPC, and open space OS to master plan community MPC for the future development of residential, business park, and employment uses generally located at the southeast and southwest corners of West Steen Road and North Murphy Road. And again, discussion only. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Yes, this is my show this evening. This is GPA 23-04, Murphy Park, a major general plan amendment, as what was read in. This application is, again, essentially from the same property owners, same property management group. As you can see on the site map, this location is the southeast and southwest side of West Steen Road and Murphy Road. On both sides of Murphy Road going south all the way to Peters and Nall Road. The previous case was just on that northwest corner of Murphy and Steen. So these are sort of companion cases, although they are separate. With this, the applicant is proposing to amend the general plan designation of this 481 plus acres from low density residential, medium density residential, master plan community, and open space to just master plan community to provide some flexibility within their companion planned area development rezone application, which is under review by staff. But again, this will be, that PAD will be presented to the commission at the next public hearing for the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is the initial one that's required by the state statute where no action is taken. As you can see, on the left-hand side is the current general plan future land use map. And the site is somewhat divided. You have a master plan community sort of on the southeast side of Murphy and Murphy Road there, and medium density residential on the southwest, and then lower density residential all the way in the southern with a little bit of open space. What the applicant is proposing is to put this whole area under a master plan community so that the planned area development can provide a little bit more flexibility on the different land uses that could be developed within this site. 481 acres is a very large site. And by having it segregated as it is with medium density master plan or lower density residential, kind of doesn't fit with being the flexibility needed to develop this where it's in conformance with the master plan communities for Murphy or for Pecan Groves with the medium density residential on that north end of it, and gradually move down to a more intense commercial use as getting closer down to Maricopa Casa Grande Road and Peters and Nall Road at the south. South of this site, and it's not shown on the map, but that is the end of the city of Maricopa, beginning of the Action Indian Reservation, and right there is the location of where the Hickman's egg farm is. So having low density residential right across the street from a chicken farm isn't the best of uses. So the applicant is proposing this master plan community to provide some flexibility in their planned area development to create these sections, and you'll see when the planned area development is presented to the commission in a month's time how that is going to work with the level of development from a office employment to commercial to various densities of residential as you're moving north from Peters and Nall Road. So for Murphy Park, I captured the land use matrix out of the planned area development. Is what you can see here. It's planned for in the PAD for employment, business park, and residential. And it's setting itself up to have minimum acreages and maximum acreages to be devoted to that. So it's a very flexible PAD. It's a little different than what we've had in the past, but not unique. We have had some that have this flexibility built into them, saying you can do so much of this and so much of that, or if you do so much of this, you got to do so much of that kind of a thing. And that's written into the PAD, which Again, it will be presented in about a month's time. But for the purposes of this, I thought it was rather important to show this to the commission now, that this matrix is what is guiding this major general plan amendment for 480 acres, to show that it is not homogeneous. There are stratified layers and sort of caps on the amount of dedicated land for specific types of uses, whether residential, employment, or business park. And the business park and employment section is, again, on that southern side of it, adjacent to where the chicken farm is, because residential next to a chicken farm is just not exactly appropriate. Now, staff has looked at this master plan community designation in the context of the greater area and right around here and the development goals. And we've found that it is appropriate. We have a lot of master plan communities in the southeast area of Maricopa. Not many of them have come online yet. A couple have. We've had some plats in across from the high school, which is just one major street north of this area. We vetted this proposal through all the reviewing departments with the city, and I'm presenting it now for the first public hearing that's required. On June 28th, the first notification letters were sent out to adjacent property owners within 600 feet. On July 13th, a neighborhood meeting was held. This was held with the other GPA as well. There was no public attendance at that meeting. On September 8th, the second notification letter went out for this meeting. On September 9th, it was published in the newspaper. September 11th, the site was posted. And September 25th, tonight, first Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for this proposal. Planning and Zoning Commission and public discussion, case number GPA 23-04. Again, the applicant and their consultants are here if the commission has any questions about this case, or I'm available as well. Thank you.
Okay. Does the applicant wish to come up and do a presentation or make any comments at this time?
Hello again, good evening. I'm Julie Vermillion with the applicant CVL Consultants, located at 4550 North 12th Street in Phoenix. I'd like to thank Derek again for a great presentation. I'd just like to elaborate that this is primarily, it has mostly NPC land use designated already, with a patchwork of other varieties of land uses. So we would love the opportunity to blend those together into one cohesive master plan community designation, so that we could develop the site as a whole. As I mentioned earlier, this area is in demand for new housing and employment opportunities, and this site has interest in development and is arguably the most shovel-ready site for large-scale employment in the eastern portion of the city of Maricopa. That's all I have, so thank you so much for your consideration, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions, concerns from to either staff or the applicant?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Question.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Irving?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear, because you have flexibility now. So the only reason you're asking for the change is for the business commercial part of it?
So it's primarily, we would like the overall MPC designation to support our upcoming PAD request. So this will be developed as an overall planned area development, and in order to do that, we need one consistent general plan designation.
Well, I guess I go back to what Commissioner Robertson asked. I guess I would like to hear pretty much what he asked. Are you really truly planning the commercial part of it? Because that's what we get hit up about all the time. There's nothing commercial east of Porter. So I think it's great if that's truly what you're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. And we do have regulations and restrictions in our upcoming PAD request. We're required to develop a minimum of 80 acres of employment use, and a maximum of 401 acres of employment use, and then a minimum of 80 acres of residential, so you're definitely going to get a mix with our upcoming zoning application, and we are setting those restrictions on ourselves to give you an understanding of where we'll end up. Yep, absolutely. Happy to do so.
Commissioner Singleton.
Kind of on the same vein as that is, I hope it's not the minimum of 80 employment acres and then the 401 housing, because there are a couple of schools out there where teachers can't really leave to go and get food and everything like that. And I personally live on the east side of town, so I love the MPC idea. I can't wait to see the pad and stuff like the PAD for it. But yeah, I hope it's not just, oh, let me hit the minimum requirement for this so I can hit the max for housing.
Yeah,
That
is-
would be my only concern, especially out that way where there's already nothing for people. So, yeah.
Yeah, we absolutely understand, and that is not the intent. The request for flexibility is purely because we don't have those specific end users on board yet, so we're not sure exactly how many acres of XYZ we'll have the opportunity to move forward with. And as we mentioned on Pecan Groves, we have that small commercial corner. The development to the north has a small commercial corner. There's a few other residential master plan communities that incorporate that commercial corner. So you'll be seeing some more of that in the area coming up.
Very good.
Anything further? I share the same concern that I hope that we see a better mixture of the residential and commercial, because of what Commissioner Singleton was talking about has happened all too often. Okay. Any other comments or questions on part of the commissioners? If not, we're not opening a public hearing, but if anybody would like to come up and make a comment about this particular item, please do so now. If not, and there's no further discussion, I think this discussion is concluded. We'll
All right,
move on
thank
to
you
the
very
next
much.
agenda item. Thank you. This is number 5.4, MISC 23-25, Planning Commission update. Rodolfo Lopez, Director, Development Services Department, will provide an update regarding the City of Maricopa Trails Master Plan discussion only.
Heavyweight's coming up.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Rodolfo Lopez, Development Services Director for the City of Maricopa. Tonight, I'd like to present to you a general update on the city's plan to update the city's multi-use trails plan in itself. Next slide. Couple more slides. Oops. Apologize, it came out kind of funky. So, back slide. Okay. So I'm here to present a general update on the Trails Plan. The Trails Plan was adopted as part of the Parks, Trail, and Open Space Master Plan in 2008 itself. Within that plan, it designated trail corridors to identify future park areas and also identify any open space amenities within the city's overall plan area itself. Adopted in 2008, it's definitely now a 15-year-old document with the rest of the information of open space and location of future parks. That's something that we're going to tag on to the future general plan in 2026 as part of that update itself. Today, we're going to present going forward with updating the actual city's multi-use trails plan. Next slide. What you see here is the city's existing trails plan. These trails plans identifies these burgundy or dark red segments are all corridors of where a trail segment will be located within the city limits. We're going down this route because of the mass activity that the city has seen over the past decade or so in terms of new developments. The landscape of the city has somewhat changed in terms of floodplain changes, infrastructure changes such as 347 overpass. A lot of that plan or a lot of those improvements that's been made over the years in compared to this map no longer fits the bill. There's a lot of change that has to be adjusted because this trails plan didn't account for those landscape changes. Next slide. And so what we have here is a revised proposed update to that trails plan segment. It has a lot of the same similarities, but now more accounted for with more recent activity that you have seen over the past decade in terms of the new developments. We're accounting for areas that has been improved or hasn't been improved, but we're accounting for where the trail segments now today make sense. Next slide. This gives you a good example of what that trail segment is. And again, actually, one more slide back again. There you go. Just to clarify, these are corridors. It's not to go and find detail exactly which side is going to be at. We identify a major roadway corridor, a major a wash area, or we identify where that potential trail segment's at. We haven't identified in the details exactly that it's going to fit on the left side or south side or north side of that road itself. But next slide. But we at least identify a simple plan of action of what type of multi-use trail corridor that we're looking at. Typically, it's a 10-foot hardscape with a 4-foot soft path to allow for both pedestrian, bicyclists, or even joggers, or on a soft path, running joggers, to give the options of how to utilize a trail segment within the city of Maricopa. But again, this is our typical section that you see in several of your planning documents. Next slide. Good case example. One more. There we go. This is, I believe, the multi-use trails at Elena Trails. You may have seen this a couple months ago as part of your PED development document, that as part of this plan of action, it gives us another tool in our toolkit to enforce where trails the developer is required to go ahead and incorporate that trail segment as part of the development plan. In this case, we see a good segment design of what that trail will look like as part of the incorporation of Ardent Trails PED development. Next slide. This is Ardent Trails. The other one was Elena Trails. This is Ardent Trails. Another good example where the development plan is part of PED, and again, having this enforcement tool in our toolkit allows us to enforce these design standards for this particular development. You can see that they've incorporated the hardscape and the soft path all as part of the roadway design of the multi-use trail. Next slide. Another concept, I forget where this one came from, a little bit different, but it's still the same concept, where you have the 5-foot sidewalk and then the 8-foot decomposed trail corridor just set back in between itself. Again, this plan is not to really dictate exactly how it's designed, but it gives a general idea of where to incorporate it within the road segment, because every road segment may have its own impasses or features that we have to work with that may have some restrictions, so we work with it and to still incorporate the same ideas of what that trail segment should look like. Next slide. So by having this type of open space trails plan, again, in our toolkit, continues for the city to enforce these visionary ideas of ultimately having an overall network of a trail segment throughout the city. If you don't recognize this segment, this is the Wapla corridor that bisects Seven Ranches and Homestead and continues north in between Rancho Dorado and the lakes of Rancho Dorado, and then connects eventually to our Lake View Park over there in Rancho Dorado, the lakes. This is the vision that we always had envisioned, that the Wapla corridor can be utilized as a true multi-use trail corridor for connectivity throughout the city. Next slide. The city over the years has been implementing these trail corridors and developments here and there. This is the Santa Rosa Springs development, right adjacent to Santa Rosa Wash, that's incorporated the multi-use trail corridor in itself. It's a 10-foot hardscape path. Doesn't have the 4-foot soft path, but again, at least there's the intent there that has a true trail segment along that Wash corridor. Next slide. One more click. There you go. Another idea that has brought up over the past decade, this particular segment in between the Sonita subdivision and Glenwild subdivision, if you ever notice, there's a gap there that we've kind of closed off. It's a mile stretch that's become almost like somewhat of an alley type design, and a lot of debris has been thrown out there. It's not used for drainage, it's not a roadway. It's just this separation between the subdivisions that we've come to known as a potential opportunity to have a trail segment that will connect from Honeycutt Road all the way to Maricopa Highway that will connect to our future commercial retail center in itself. As part of this visioning and trails plan itself, next slide, we can envision, and that's image what it looks like today. Next slide. It gives it the opportunity to maybe incorporate these ideas of enhancing this type of what it is today to what it could be in the future in itself. Thanks to Alex at the time of his internship, he's gone now. He presented this SketchUp drawing a couple years ago, what that type of idea will look like. So, next slide. So this trails plan is up for review. We're starting this process to give the heads up to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We did present to the Parks, Libraries, and Parks, Recreation, and Libraries last week. We're presenting here today, and we want to go to council first meeting in November for adoption of updating the trails plans itself. Again, just to reiterate, the actual open space plan of the Parks, Trails, Open Space Plan will be updated as part of general plan update in 2026. But today, we're just continuing to work towards updating the actual trails plan because of the changes that we've seen over the past decade or so. Chairman, Commissioners, with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners?
Looks good.
Okay, again,
I just have one comment.
Commissioner Hughes?
As a bike rider, I appreciate it. Believe me. It's, every morning I'm out riding in Tortosa, and my wife and I both, and it's a great asset to the community. Thank you.
And we're doing it little by little. As each development comes about, these are the requirements as part of this that we can continue to put on the requirements for developers to incorporate this type of trail corridors, and everything that we don't get in as part of there, and we'll take care as a city itself. But
Vice Chair Robertson?
Rudy, can you talk to us a little bit about future implementation? Is this a 20-year plan, funding, contingent, developer participation contingent? How does that work? Just for public.
yeah, Chairman, Commissioners, generally once we have this plan adopted, and we have it adopted today, we have been enforcing this as part of the development process to where developers pay their fair share to contribute or at least build the required improvements. Anything that we've missed or don't have the opportunity to do so, it gives us that leadership to go ahead and account for budgetary funding to incorporate in future CIP projects in itself. Not having this plan of action doesn't give us any leave or doesn't give direction to move forward with any future projects. But by having a more updated plan can further enhance or make those requirements for developers and also give our leadership to budget future funding projects if the city needs to build those segments.
Does anybody, do we have a, yes, please.
Hold on, well, let's just get you on.
Would you identify yourself and your address, please?
My name is Daphne Roberts, and I'm at 20161 North Klamath Drive, Maricopa, and a few other locations in Maricopa. So I noticed on the drawings, and I'm just asking because I've never seen these drawings before, that there's a lot of green areas.
Can you go back to the map?
So, yeah, you just passed it. Stop. You just passed it. That's it. Okay. That's what you're proposing to put up. That looks pretty boring to me, and I'm hoping that you'll take some notice of drought-tolerant plants. We're living in the desert, and we're in the middle of a drought, and all these luscious green belts just don't make sense. They create a lot of maintenance, which costs money, and I'm just wondering, is that being considered?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, yes, that is being considered, so we appreciate the feedback on that one. This particular development was done probably before around the 2005-2006 era, so may have been at the cusp where we didn't have the plan implemented, But we know that the developer at the time incorporated the wash corridor design here. But yeah, in the future, if you go to a couple more slides previously, which is the segment, there you go. So that type of planting with drought tolerant is definitely being considered by our planning team in
Yeah,
itself.
native
Yes.
plants to
Correct.
create environments also for wildlife
Yep.
that are part of our lives. And, you know, like if you go to some of the other more wealthy cities and you see that the way that they've incorporated the wildlife into, it just makes it more interesting for people to look at rather than cookie cutter plantings and cookie cutter cuttings. And just, I would love to see that in Maricopa.
Appreciate the feedback, yes.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else like to comment or ask questions on this item? If not, anything further from the commissioners? If not, I think we will assume this discussion is closed. On to the next agenda item.
Thank you.
5.5 MISC 23-26, Public Meeting, Development District Area Plan Update. As part of the requirements of the Arizona State Statutes for Redevelopment District Area Plans, the Commission will host a public meeting to review the proposed redevelopment district area plan update and to promote citizen participation. The first public meeting at the Maricopa Library and Cultural Center is an opportunity for the public to comment. No action will be taken by the Commission. A second public meeting, a neighborhood meeting, will be held October 9th, 2023 at the Maricopa Library and Cultural Center. Action on the redevelopment district area plan update will occur at the statute-required City Council public hearing scheduled for November 7th, 2023 at City Hall. The neighborhood meeting and City Council public hearing will provide additional opportunity for the public to comment. This is discussion only. Staff, please.
Thanks. Thank you, Commissioner. Chair, Commissioners. Derek Shear with the Planning Department, presenting the redevelopment area plan update. The city of Maricopa has endeavored to update its redevelopment area plan. A redevelopment area plan is a tool, a mechanism that cities, municipalities, counties use for applying community development block grant funding from the feds to the state, then down to the county, who's the administrator of that, then down to the smaller municipalities. Community development block grant funds are generally, they're used for benefiting the community through infrastructure and economic development purposes. In 2009, the city adopted its redevelopment area plan, also called the Heritage District Area Plan, which, as you can see here, that's the area highlighted in blue on the site map. And this isn't a rezone of the area. This is a mini master plan policy document to guide development and redevelopment in this area. It's more specific than the general master plan that is for the entire city. This is the area plan for this little area. And specifically, it's needed by state statute to be able to access community development block grant funding. This area is approximately 240 square miles, or about 0.36 square miles, sorry, 240 square acres, 0.36 square miles. Next slide, please. What we can see here, the neighborhood map. It's the North Maricopa neighborhood, Maricopa Manor, Maricopa Town Site, and Estrella Park. These areas were developed 40 to 50 years ago, prior to the city even beginning to think about incorporating. They developed under Pinal County regulations at that time. Just say for the North Maricopa neighborhood, sewer was not a requirement. A lot of those lots are on septic. Currently, under present environmental regulations by the county and the state, the size of those lots would not be supported for septic, being on septic. You would have to be on sewer services. Back then, the environmental regulations were a little bit different. But now, if they were to, they could redevelop their house but any sort of other sort of development might need sewer. There's no sewer in the area. Community development block grant money could be applied to developing sewers in the area. Also, the area doesn't have sidewalks, curbs or gutters at the sides of the road. There are some streetlights, which that is a part of this previous plan or the original 2009 plan. Because that set goals and objectives into motion, the city targeted this area for these infrastructure improvements and have been slowly chipping away, putting these in as the capital improvement project budget allows it. Again, like a master plan, this isn't a quick fix, come in and redevelop everything and bring everything up to code and current conditions that everywhere else has. It's a very, piece by piece, piecemeal, putting everything together to get to where we want this area as a community to be, where it has sidewalks, where it has curbs, where it has gutters, where the roads are fully paved. Most of the roads in a lot of these areas aren't fully paved. They're chip sealed, which is a very temporary asphalt put over. Previously, this area had been in floodplain designation. Efforts by the city has removed a lot of this area from it. There's only about 4 lots still in the designated floodplain, and that's because of this previous plan from 2009 being implemented by the city, chipping away at these goals and objectives. By state law, these plans have to be updated every 10 years. The city was granted a few extensions. The original area went far to the west than what we see here on the map. Back in 2020, the city council reduced this area to what you see here on the neighborhood map or the redevelopment area map here, which is where the city wants to target these redevelopment efforts. And each one of these neighborhoods has their own level of deficiencies in them. In the Estrella Park High School area, Hamilton Road, it's not paved. It didn't have to be when it was originally developed, but by current standards, it wouldn't be allowed to be developed at this point without a paved road with sidewalks and curbs and gutters and streetlights. So that's why we have this redevelopment area plan and have targeted this area. This update goes through the old plan and realizes the accomplishments that we've made in the last 10 to 15 years, which there's quite a lot of accomplishments, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And to be able to continue being able to offset the capital expenditures that the city does and pull in those community development block grant funds to apply to these different projects that meet the qualifications they must be in this plan. So as we can see here, and I've gone through, we have inadequate water and sewer services for these neighborhoods, unscreened and open commercial uses, which they were established before the city incorporated, before the zoning regulations that we have now. As part of the original incorporation, they were allowed and they were grandfathered to have unscreened, but that grandfathering, that's expired, and now everything needs to come into compliance with the current codes. There's unpaved streets and alleys. Building conditions are not the same as elsewhere. There's a lot of distressed properties. This document, by targeting those and allowing for those, we can apply community development block grant money towards those things. If the city wanted to do a neighborhood services weatherization program for some of these houses, or for the elderly or the lower income that couldn't afford to do these type of things, the upkeep, the city could apply that and create a program. But without it being in the plan, it wouldn't be allowed to. We would not be allowed to use those funds for anything like that. It's also traffic congestion. In the original plan, it called for the overpass. And that's why the overpass was built, because it was in this plan and we were able to harness some of that funding along with city funding and other federal funding to be able to create that overpass. Other railroad crossing safety concerns, we still have pedestrian crossing issues. The city's currently doing the plans, and I think we're up to 90% plans, if not complete plans, for a pedestrian overpass. The pedestrian overpass is going to be where old North Maricopa Road went across the tracks by the Blue Barn, going over to where the carniceria is now. And that was part of this plan and was implemented because it was in this plan. And as things take time, it's coming to fruition. Also, preservation of any historic structures. There aren't very many historic structures left in the city. They are located in this area, which was the original downtown of the city and laid out. And having it in the Heritage District area plan or redevelopment area plan, we could apply those federal funds towards that preservation. Okay, here I'm just going to flip through some of the maps that are in this plan. This map here, this shows the water and sewer district. So in the blue dots, you have the Maricopa Domestic Water. Maricopa Domestic Water doesn't provide sewer services. They just provide domestic water, which is potable, drinkable water for residences. The red area is a sewer area. It is in a sewer area, so sewer could be provided, but we have some jurisdictional boundaries here with the city, with Global Water, Maricopa Domestic, but having all of this in the plan, if we can put in sewer, it's in the plan, we can apply those federal monies towards it. Here we have the floodplain map. As you can see, some of the high school, everything in blue that you see, AE, that is in the floodplain. Some of the fields for the high school are still in it. Some properties in the lower left-hand side are in it, but the vast majority has been taken out, and that's because it was a goal and objective in the plan previously. The city went through its capital improvement projects, removed this area from it. So all these properties aren't in the floodplain anymore. They don't have to carry flood insurance from FEMA. Here we can see, although it looks a little confusing, this map is a map of the current roadway conditions. In the plan is the actual full map with the legend and everything, but it wouldn't fit on the slide to be able to show you. But all of the different colored that you see yellow, those roads have been improved. In the light blue, those are ones that are currently in the capital, the CIP budget for improvements. The red ones, those are in the next stage for the capital. So all of this lines up and sets a stage for the city to be able to make targeted development and redevelopment decisions in this area to bring it up to the current standards that the rest of the city has. In the RDA plan, we lay out the goals. We have goals 1 through 7. These are from the original 2009 plan. Goal 7, Citizen Advisory Committee. That was implemented after the plan was adopted. However, there was a general lack of participation from the public on it. So what the city did instead, everything that develops in this area comes to public hearing before this commission here and gives the opportunity for the public to put their input in on what's being developed in the area. And then at the end of it, we have the implementation priorities. And although the commission does not take action on this now, this is the chance for neighborhood public input for the commission to introduce this to the public. After today, copies of the plan, or the draft plan, will be available for the public for review at City Hall. We're having our neighborhood meeting on this on October 9th, where we'll have breakout sessions to really go over this with the public. A lot of the public believes that this may be rezoning their property, and it's not rezoning it. Just like the master plan, this is just the general plan or the area plan for this area for the goals and objectives to be able to be met, just like the GPAs that we saw before. But it is not rezoning of the properties at all. On September 6th, staff sent out notification letters to all property owners in the redevelopment area and 600 feet around it. On September 7th, redevelopment district notification signs were posted all throughout the area. There's approximately 8 signs posted throughout the area. You can't go into one of those neighborhoods without passing one of our orange signs. Today, we're having the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to introduce this to the public, to show that it's available for review and comment. And we would love any comment, any ideas that we have not thought of putting in here, any issues that the neighbors have that we're not aware of that we should be targeting for our goals and objectives for the ultimate redevelopment of this area. On October 9th, we're going to have the neighborhood meeting here at the library. It's going to be in this room, I believe. Then on October 16th, we're going to send out public hearing notification letters for the city council. By state statute, we have to notice in the newspaper 2 weeks in a row prior to the public hearing, which is the city council meeting. So October 21 and October 28, notice of the city council public hearing will be placed in the newspaper. And then on November 7th, the city council will hold its public hearing. And I am here to answer any questions that the commission may have, public may have, or if the public has any comment.
Commissioners?
Thank you, Derek. Excellent presentation. A lot of information there. From what I gleaned from your presentation, it looks like the highest priority items are water and sewer, streets, curb and gutter, and sidewalks. In your estimation, if you can give one, how soon do you think we can resolve all those issues?
I honestly don't know. It's all budget. It all costs to redo a roadway with the roadway surface, curb, gutter, sidewalk. We've gotten estimates anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per foot. So if you want to do 100 feet of road for one of the areas, $150,000. That's not including lights. That's not putting any subsurface catch basins, drainage, anything like that. That's just road with a ribbon curb and the sidewalk attached to it. So it is an incremental objective that we have, and we chip away at it as the funds become available. Public Works, it's within their CIP budgets to go and, okay, this one we go and target this we target that, and as the years progress, everything gets done eventually.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Juarez. We have two commissioners, Vice Chair Robertson is next, and then Commissioner Irving.
Thank you, Derek. You're right about the signs. You've got them on every corner out there, and they've generated considerable discussion already on social media. The term regentification and pushing out the old to bring in the new is flying around like crazy. It forced me to go out and read the sign, and it clearly says what it's up to. I mean, there was already rumors that Dairy Queen's going and headquarters is going to be pushed out, and those rumors are flying. I've talked to a few friends that live in the area and just ask them if they think that that's real, and they do. There is a concern about this, regeneration, moving the old generation out and bringing in the new. So I just want to put that out on the table. When you have your public meeting, you may get some of that. Hopefully it's maybe been pushed back a little bit and solved, but you may hear some of that. And I'm just kind of throwing that out publicly, that you need to be aware of that. When you redevelopment to some people means one thing. I think it's a grand plan. There's been great improvement over there already. Some solar streetlights, as a matter of fact, are in some areas, and curbing, and the Main Street area over there has got some nice fencing, and some of the homes have already been provided funding to, winterize and clean up and all that stuff. So I think it's a grand plan. I think it's a great plan, but just be cautious going forward what you might start hearing, and be prepared to answer those questions.
Commissioner Irving?
Yeah. Goal 5, objective for dealing with land and land usage. I guess I would just, and I didn't see a update on that. Did I miss it? Because a lot of stuff you've done, but there's no little check marky thing.
Yes, looking at Goal 5, Objective 5, The encourage-
Objective 4.
Objective 4, market the RDA to list as land uses desired by stakeholders with the use of appropriate financial and development incentives and assistance. A lot of these don't exactly have an update to it. They're a continuing effort.
Well, some of them do.
Some of them do, absolutely.
I guess all I'm saying is I think that's a large priority, and I think, again, it's good to know that you are making, we have a senior center, we have a museum, we have a library. So I would really like to see an update to show that we've done those things and taken credit for that. A community college campus. So I think that's an important one to update because I hear a lot about that. The thing on there too, and we've been working on it, Henry's working on it, is the issue of a teen center and a youth center. Just like to push that as a priority because again, like I said, really happy that you've completed the senior center, you do art walks and things like that. So I just think from a number of the people, these are things that they are concerned about. The other thing, sports complex. There's been a lot of talk about planning with the city and the school district to build a sports stadium. Those are really things I think people would like to see, that's in the plan. We talked about it, to have a nice stadium where both public and charter schools should use. So I would, take credit for what you've done in that, and then also prioritize. I think it's good when the city shows that they want to provide services for its citizens at minimal or no cost, and you've done some of that. So I would just push that as a success.
Thank you.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yeah, I think it might be along the same lines as Commissioner Irving here, but there's one map that had here could be a hotel, here's the concept for a train station, stuff like that. Yeah, I would definitely like to see that updated because there's 3 locations for an aquatic center on there and 2 of them currently won't work, right? There's already buildings there or businesses there and stuff like that. And there wasn't really an update to that. So I would like to see that, especially if somebody's coming in asking hey, what's going to be done in this area? If it's already outdated and there's already buildings or something like that, or the zoning has changed for that location, stuff like that, I would definitely like to see that updated.
There we go. In looking at everything we have here, I look at water and sewer, and most of the time when you talk water sewer, they kind of are together. But here you don't have that. You have, I believe it's quite a name here, the Municipal Consolidated Domestic Water Properties is the water company. You don't have a sewer system at all. The water situation, it has got to be improved because you have 4-inch mains which would not adequately give us enough water to fight fires, depending on how big the fires are. We don't have enough fire hydrants. I know that we have added some, but I still think we don't have enough of them. And sprinkler systems come into this discussion. Hand in hand with that, you have the lack of a sewer system here. I think that we have to have somebody, and I think it might be whatever influence the city might have or whatever, to try to get somebody like Global Water to come in and take a look at all of this. And of course, I realize that there's jurisdiction matters here. There's a whole lot of different entities that are involved. There would be a tremendous amount of coordinating. But I know that no water company is going to come in there and, like Global, and install sewers and only have sewers, because the only way they're going to get paid is if they also have the rights to the water, so that if somebody isn't paying their water bill, the water service can be shut off. If they come in and do sewers, they really would have no hammer, no leverage to be able to get their money back for the monies that they spent on the sewer infrastructure. And my suggestion would be that the city itself or through others, try to get some kind of a coordinated effort where we can get better sewer and water into this particular area. Anything else? I'll be right with you. Anything else from the commissioners? Okay. Again, we are going to look to the public to see if we have any comments. If so, again, your name and your address, please. Okay.
Here we go again. Daphne Roberts, 20161 North Klamath Drive. Here's what I want to know, and I might be ignorant, so excuse me if I am. So if you go in and you put in sewers where they already have septics, who pays for that? Is that with grants?
It could be a combination of grant money.
The owner of the property
The
being
owner-
forced?
The owner would not be forced to connect to it, but stub outs would be provided for them.
Right.
And then
So
they
my
could-
question,
and if
excuse
they
me
do,
to
yeah.
interrupt, but my question as an owner of a property with septic where I'm not paying sewer fees and I already have my water provided is why would I do that? Why would I want Global Water, which charges me buku dollars every month, giving me something that I already have when I have septic? I mean, I'm just putting that out there.
Absolutely.
Because I can
Excellent.
see why they think the old and the new, because really, people who don't have money can't afford those things. And there's a lot of people in those areas. I'm not one of them, but there's a lot of people that can't afford that. So it's really easy to say that Global Water should come in, but I think Global Water's making a lot of money and they're charging a lot of money. And we already have really high utility bills in the city of Maricopa. And here's the other question I have. Again, I'm not sure I heard this. Doesn't the city of Maricopa make money out of what Global Water gets? They get a portion. They do. That's what I've heard. Can you answer that question?
Yes, I can go back to your first question. You
Okay.
had 4 there.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, it would be, if sewers were put down, it'd be up to the individual property owner to connect to it. Stub outs would be put there. I don't know what financial mechanisms or impetus they would have to connect to it. If their septic system failed, it may be cheaper to connect to the sewer than to redo their septic, because, well, we're looking at lots that are on like 10,000 square feet. You need 38,000 square feet, I believe, or about 1 acre to be approved now for new development to be on septic. But I'm not an expert on that. I'd defer that to the city engineer and the county environmental division there. But if it were provided, then other opportunities. If in this district, in the Heritage District, it encourages mixed use. And we've had a lot of inquiries about people being able to do businesses in their homes, making their home a 2-family home. If you were on septic, you wouldn't be able to do that. If you had a septic system from the 1970s, you're not going to have the capacity probably to be able to do that. So then you're stuck where you are with what you have, and you won't be able to improve on it more. As for the city getting money from Global on the water, I don't know. That would be a question for, I guess, finance or city manager or Global Water. I'm not privy to any of that info. But what this plan is it's an update to the 2009 plan. It's not a new plan. That's why Aquatic Center is still in there, because at that time everyone wanted an aquatic center downtown there. But the aquatic center was developed with Copper Sky. So it's that, although it's still in here because we're just updating where we've gotten to and what other things are important, that's still in there until we actually go and do a new plan for it.
Okay. City Council Member Henry Wade, please. I think you had your hand up.
I did, just for the understanding, or maybe the recommendation, and not official recommendation of the citizen of Maricopa. that we keep dollars in front of what we're doing. I think it's important for people to understand how much things cost, and then they get an understanding of how much it's going to be to do what it needs to be done. Whatever the city might want to do, whatever private industry wants to do, but I think it'd be a good idea to keep costs, and I know I'm not so sure that that's something that is expected or maybe even appropriate, but I think it's a good idea. Quite often when citizens come forward and they want to know something, for instance, they just put out a number on improvements on the 347 here today, $315 million. So when the question is, when are we going to improve on the 347? The answer is when we have $350 million. And that is important to know. I think that's important to put out there. And in the process of this, I think that would be a good idea. And I'm not aware of any contractual agreements between the city and Global Water where we get a percentage of their private industry profits. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But I don't think that we're going to enter into an agreement with a public entity, a private entity, Global Water, or that Global Water is going to give us a portion of that. Thank you.
And I believe this gentleman would like to speak. Your name and address, please.
Thank you. Dan Rogers, 44977 West Hathaway is where I'm at. So I'm right in the upper middle of the map of that Heritage District. And we're a small church. We're actually the first church, Maricopa Community Church, ever here. Back when Maricopa was first being established, there were no churches here. If you wanted to attend church, you had to drive all the way to Casa Grande or all the way to Stanfield. So in 1957, our church was built, and it was built by the body, by the people, and in 1963, our building was built. So we have water, we have a septic, and we have been looking at trying to expand and add some additional buildings, and the Heritage District gives us tremendous difficulty. We are the heritage of the city of Maricopa. We are. The Smiths, the Anks, they're founding members of our church. They attended our church until the day they die, and that may be very soon for John Smith. They've been members. We are the heritage. But when we approached the city not that long ago and we began asking, we want to extend a shade structure. We want to add some other small buildings. We have a small elementary school that's currently meeting inside of our existing facility. We would like to build some other buildings, put a parking lot down. We were told we had to pay for all of the road improvements on our entire property line. So our small little church, who's the heritage, is told that we have to spend nearly $1 million plus in improving the road conditions. But we're a heritage district. The federal government has given grant money for the establishment of a heritage district. That money was allocated towards an overpass, but the very buildings that we are saying are historic and that we want to preserve, protect, take forward for this heritage district, we're neglecting those. And instead, we're burdening those residents in my neighborhood and the churches and the other locations that are essential in our neighborhood. We're burdening them and putting on their backs the millions of dollars for the improvement. This heritage district is an impoverished neighborhood. We're the poorest of the poor in the entire city. Be careful about the decisions that you're making. Be careful. You may say that this gives people opportunity. You're giving opportunity to people with no money. These people are barely making it. So if you have a sewage and you're going to give them the opportunity, I say to the city, you pay for it. Don't burden these people who are barely making it, and they've been there for 60 years. And they're passing these little houses down from generation to generation because they have no other path forward. And the little tiny church that was planted in a little dot on a state road map in 1963 built a building, and that same building, where was the only place to go for church and for worship for a generation, maybe 3 generations of Maricopans, When that little church says, we're ready to take the next step forward after 60+ years, and we're told, after you do $1 million worth of road improvements, then you can build a shed. You can put the shed from Home Depot after the $1 million. You can put a parking lot down so your older folks don't have to walk in slippery mud after the $1 million. Be careful about how you're spending your heritage money.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, thank you. When any time a city goes about, in my experience, of putting new sewer and water in any area, the homeowner, of course, is charged for the hookup and the sewer. But once you can put the sewer in, and if you have septic, you can refuse to hook it up. But then if your system fails, then you have to hook up to sewer, which is usually more expensive than it is to hook up at the time they're installing it. And secondly, some communities allow a payment program over the years added on to their sewer bill to pay for that installation. So over 10 years or so, it'll be paid for at a little amount of money. So I believe there's a lot of ways that this community can help the impoverished in that area. And a lot of those things can be implemented, but it's important to yourself and the homeowner for the resale of their properties or anything else, the value of their properties, to have sewer and water hooked up to it.
Commissioner Irving?
Yeah, I was driving around that area today. My wife used to teach over at the Montessori school, so she walks that way. I think the interesting thing about this is we have to keep in mind the whole reason we're doing it is to be able to apply to get federal dollars. When I read through this and I thought about that area, and I couldn't agree, we've been here for 18 years. One of the things to get money is you have to qualify under certain areas, and it's sort of sad, but it says summary of blight and slum conditions. Now that sounds horrible, but that's a way to get federal dollars to correct exactly what you said. So I think, to me, part of the reasoning for doing this and what we're doing is to make that area eligible. The other thing that was in here, that they do want to make historical sites, which is another way to get federal dollars in. So I'm hoping the purpose of all this is to get federal dollars to help with exactly what you just said. Because like I said, that's one of the first areas I remember. My wife used to walk from the villages down Harvey or to the school, know the area very well. So I guess all I'm saying is I hope and I feel comfortable that part of this plan is to be eligible to get money for the Heritage District, because the whole thing is called the Heritage District Plan. And I think, again, when you look at the whole plan, it talks about also in the east side where they've done some stuff on Main Street. They're talking about, they've already rechanged the Zephyr. The museum is there. So the whole idea is from that Zephyr all the way over to the far west is to redevelop it into a real historical, because exactly what you said, area for Maricopa, like our old town, our history's there. They want to do the train station. So, you know, I just hope that people in that area, having been here 18 years, know how much we treasure that area. And I just think it's going to be a strong point.
May I make another comment, please?
Certainly.
So my comment, thank you very much, by the way. I appreciate your words. My comment is this, is that where is the report that shows from the federal funding that we've received, where's an impact analysis of how that funding has directly benefited and impacted the residents and the property owners versus an overpass that services a variety of folks that are outside of the Heritage District. So in other words, we have a list here of sewer, but we began this meeting by saying people already have septic. So that does not seem like an urgent issue. We had a listing here of additional water supply, but we already have water supply there because people are living and drinking. That doesn't seem like an issue. It appears to me like the primary issue that we need to address first and foremost would be the roadways. Let's improve roadways. Let's not put those at the end of the list. Let's put those at the very beginning of the list. Let's have an analysis to say how many dollars are actually directly impacting the properties that are present in the Heritage District versus additional persons that might pass through the Heritage District. That is my admonition. That's what I'm really requesting ultimately at the end of the day. We're a property owner. We own 5 acres right in the very middle of your Heritage District. And we were astonished, and so were all of our neighbors. If you want to hold a public hearing, you're welcome to hold it in our church. But we were astonished, and so were all of our neighbors. We were actually shocked when people begin to do property improvements and we see the requirements that are forced upon us because we're a heritage district. And it's a little concerning because many of us feel that we are the heritage. The requirements should have had pictures of our building, not pictures of a building in Scottsdale. We're not Scottsdale, we're Maricopa. We're different than them, and we happen to think we're a little better. And so when we see pictures and we see definitions of a heritage district that are coming from Tucson and Scottsdale and not coming from Maricopa, all of us in that little community pause and we say to ourselves, we don't want to be Scottsdale or Tucson, we want to be Maricopa.
We want you to be too.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes, I have the opportunity to create a historical preservation district in my career. Along with that, getting federal monies for those areas, and I'm a grant writer, and pass the stipulations that come with a historical preservation district is to preserve the housing and structures and everything like it is. And the cost factor, it is high. Even to, in the commission that I created, that neighborhood, even chose the colors that there were a certain color chart you could only use in that area. The gingerbreading around the older homes had to be duplicated. And so every cost of that historic district, it's expensive, believe me, it is. However, if you, to preserve history and what is there, there's federal monies to help you do that, so.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, we will close this item. I'm sorry? Okay.
So my name's Daniel Rajat. I live at 44410 West Cesar Chavez Lane, which is inside the Maricopa Town Site portion of the Heritage District. And we noticed that with the last time when the sidewalks went in on the other streets around us, which we do appreciate. My wife and I go for walks through there all the time, so having the sidewalks and the streetlights have been incredible for us. But they're talking about putting sidewalks in down the other 2 streets that connect, which includes our street. And one of the problems we noticed with our neighbors is that a lot of the houses only have 1-car driveways, but most people have 2 cars or 3 cars now, which they're parking generally right in front of their houses. And with these sidewalks, you guys are talking about putting in the public parking again. But on the other streets, we've noticed the public parking is severely limited. Despite this being a residential area, not a commercial, there's 2-hour parking limits or can't park overnight. And we're wondering if that's going to happen again on these streets where it's purely residential. So if we lose our extra place to park a car, are we going to risk getting towed for parking in the public parking that's being provided?
Hi, Daniel. Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that question, but I can get an answer. With that, that's determined by the city engineer and our public works department when they redevelop the road, and then the ultimate width of the road for parking on it, and then that designation. But I can definitely find out that information for you and get back to you. If after the meeting I can get your contact info, I can find that out and get it to you. Absolutely.
Say the same, because someone here, Mr. Person's not here, the city manager, but I think the answers to some of your questions would be, why don't we reach out to the city manager and make the same type of presentation? You may
Sir.
have already done it, I don't know, but that would be my recommendation from the city.
Anything further from the commissioners? Anything further from the folk, or the public? If not, I'm going to consider this discussion concluded, and we will move on to the reports from commission and/or staff.
Good evening, Chairman Yocum, Commissioners. Boy, what a good night. Good discussion for my first off-site meeting. I enjoyed it very much. Just would like to thank everybody for participating this evening, making the trek from City Hall over here to the Public Library. We appreciate your participation very much. And again, neighborhood meeting coming up on this. Please stay engaged. And then public hearings after that. So there are going to be multiple opportunities to stay engaged with city officials, and I hope y'all will very much. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our audiovisual department for putting this thing on together tonight. Quinn, Abel, y'all did a magnificent job to be able to take. Yeah. They do a great job supporting us over in City Hall to pick up all that and move it over here, and to do it with essentially no hiccups. It's much appreciated, and we thank you very much for that. With respect to the October 9th meeting, we do not have anything that has met the notification requirements for the 9th, so we will be canceling the October 9th meeting. However, our next meeting will be on October 23rd. We already have applications that are working towards meeting those requirements. Then finally, I would just like to mention Commissioner Rachel LaFall. I found out later this afternoon, and as most of you commissioners know, that she's tendered her resignation in order to become a member of the Maricopa Economic Development Alliance, MEDA. That's a great position for her. I'm tickled to death. I can't thank her enough for the time, the attention, and all the phone calls and emails that she and I have shared in the 2 years that I've been here. She was the first to reach out when I took this position, and I just saw her this evening, and I just can't thank her enough for everything she's done for the city. So, yeah, round of applause on that. It's a great position for her. It's a great move. She's excited, and I think the city's very fortunate to have her over there at the media department. Chairman Yocum, members of the commission, that concludes my comments this evening. Thank you again very much, and we'll see you on the 23rd of October.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. We're adjourned.